Do you want to get to know your own mind, body, and spirit in such an intimate way that you could optimize all of them to work together in harmony to create a life that you love? Well, if you are, transpersonal coaching could be for you. Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel on everything transpersonal coaching. I have my master's in transpersonal ecopsychology, and I'm trained in somatic trauma therapy with Dr. Peter Levine and Richard Schwartz. So today I'm going to talk to you about what is transpersonal coaching actually? Who is it for, and what does it help with? Transpersonal coaching is derived from the fourth branch of psychology called transpersonal psychology. This was founded by Abraham Maslow in the 1960s as an answer to the lack of acknowledgement of the previous three branches of their clients having a soul or spirit. Transpersonal psychology believed that you cannot address the whole human being without addressing the soul. The previous three branches being psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and humanistic psychology, these created the foundation and the roots for transpersonal psychology to be born, and they're all important. Mental health exists on a spectrum. On the far left end is pathology and mental illness. On the far right end is thriving and flourishing. And most of us exist somewhere in the middle, this overlap where there might be things like depression, anxiety, loss of meaning and purpose, confusion, feeling lost, not feeling very good in your own body, not knowing how to self-regulate. And this overlap is where both therapy and coaching can be very productive and helpful. Therapists are people who address mental illness, pathology. They have the ability and licensure to diagnose and treat those types of problems. Coaches focus more on the future and optimizing mental health, and also taking a more holistic approach. As a transpersonal coach, we look at the mind, body, and spirit connection. So, what is transpersonal coaching? Like I said, transpersonal psychology has a whole person ontology. So we look at the mind, the body, and the spirit, and then we integrate them all. So a lot of us are existing in the world completely identified with our minds, and we're not really paying attention to our body, and certainly not paying attention to our spirit or soul, let alone knowing that we have one. So as a transpersonal coach, it is my job to get you fully in touch with all levels of who you really are in your human experience, getting you intimate and aware of what's operating in your mind, what's operating in your body, what's operating in your soul and your spirit. How we do that is a systematic approach where we first look at, where is it that I really want to be? What is my biggest dream? If I were to dream big, feel big, what would my life look like? What would I be doing? What would really light me up? And a lot of times we don't know. So it takes a certain amount of time in the coaching process to really dive in deep to that soul center and be informed from the soul body into the mind of what that life would look like. It's amazing, and it's very magical, and it's one of my greatest, most honored positions to be able to witness someone having this realization. So say we already know, we have an idea of this life that we really want, but we're afraid. And we take a look like we were an observer up here, looking down at our mind's operating mechanism. A good metaphor for this is, what are the current software and hardware programs operating in our brain that have been either conditioned by our culture, our upbringing, our education, our family, or experiences that we've had? And a lot of that happens unconsciously. And when we actually take a look at what's going on. And we ask really profound questions like, how did that belief get developed? How did this worldview get developed? And then we contact the body and we learn about somatic awareness. And our body has intelligence, it has consciousness, and it's got this feedback loop going on between the brain, the mind, and the body about what is nourishing for it, what is truth for it. And that's where the body also houses the soul and the spirit. And a lot of people feel it right here, this like core heart center. And so when we awaken our awareness of our spirit and our body, they kind of communicate with the mind about what is actually true for that individual, what beliefs that the mind houses are in alignment with the truth of the soul and the body, and what are not. And so that's how we can kind of start to optimize and clean ourselves out from the inside of all the things that aren't in alignment with our core true selves. So the coaching process is really amazing because it's going to be one of the most profound experiences this person has ever had in their life, getting to know themselves so well that nothing is left to conjecture. Nothing, no stone is unturned. We learn how to be the scientists of our own lives, the masters of our own emotions and thoughts, and taking full responsibility for the reality that we are living. You know, having the support of a coach, someone that can unbiasedly look at you, look at your mind's operating mechanisms, your bodies, your souls, and help you see your blind spots, see where you could be most productive in optimizing your brain, body, spirit connection by where you should focus your attention, where you should focus your energy. What thoughts should we be firing and wiring into your brain? Which ones should we be letting dissolve? How do we do that? How do we stay conscious and aware throughout our day so that we're constantly grooving in and strengthening these new neural pathways and letting the old ones dissolve? And how do we relate to the old ones? It's not identifying them with them anymore, thinking that that's who we are and we're fixed. It's knowing that those are just a program. It's not who we are. They were just conditioned into us before we were conscious of what we were actually inputting. Now that we're adults, we get to choose. Does this agree with the life that I want to create, or does it hinder me? If it hinders me, I can change it. That's empowering. That's so empowering. And it takes around 3 to 6 months to really groove in new train tracks, so to speak, to get your automatic pilot off of those old grooves onto the new ones. And that's the work. Transformation is work. It's inner work, so it's a different kind, but it's just as exhausting. You feel like you did an inner workout after a session or a meditation in the morning. And it's so what I like to use as a term for what this process is like is soul boot camp. We cannot change our lives unless we commit to this daily process of shifting our mind, body, and spirit mechanism to be fully in alignment with the vision of the future. So it's like we are imagining this future. We ask ourselves, who would I have to be? What thoughts would I have to fire and wire? What feelings would I feel? How would my soul feel and exist? Would it be content, lit up, passionate, on fire? Let's get all of those working in harmony together. So, who is transpersonal coaching for? Transpersonal coaching best serves those who are in a place where they are not stressed about basic needs or basic mental health. When you have a baseline of your fundamental needs being met, you have a baseline of stability in your mental health, you are in the perfect position. That foundation is so key and necessary. You are in a perfect position to then build a life towards the right level of thriving and flourishing in your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. And so people might be in this middle area, like I mentioned before. So you might be struggling with things like depression and anxiety, which, yes, can be clinical and can be more serious, where a therapist would be better advised to deal with that problem. However, transpersonal psychologists and coaches view anxiety and depression sometimes as more of a psycho-spiritual problem, which simply means that it could be signaling that you're ready for a huge leap in consciousness and in personal growth. And so that's this U theory, which I'll go into in another episode. But sometimes we dip down really low before we ascend really high. And so that is one population of problems that transpersonal coaching is amazing for, very effective, and can quickly deal with those issues. Another one is a loss of purpose and meaning in life. What this might feel and look like is you kind of feel blah throughout the day. You're going through the motions, but you're having thoughts like, what is the purpose of all this? Why am I doing this? Am I even happy? Does this even fulfill me? All of these questions where you just know that you're capable of so much more, and you know on an innate, maybe unconscious level, that this ain't it. Like, I'm supposed to feel abundant. I'm supposed to feel joyful. I'm supposed to feel energized and happy. And you don't. That's a great problem for a transpersonal coach to help you solve. Another one might be that you're interested in a spiritual path. So transpersonal psychology is all about mystical states of consciousness beyond ego consciousness, which means that we're expanding our perception and sense of self beyond this body, small me, that I'm actually interconnected with the whole, and I also have a highest self. So this highest self is this term that we use in transpersonal psychology to communicate about this part of all of us that we have, that's a higher consciousness that goes untapped in most people unless you're prepared and ready in your own personal maturity and development to go there, or that unless you have a guide helping you get there and tune into that. Or sometimes it's spontaneous. Like, I don't know if you've heard about Eckhart Tolle. He wrote The Power of Now, one of the most popular books in the world. And in the beginning of his book, he talks about how he dipped super low. He was contemplating ending his life, and the next day he was enlightened. Full, embodiment of the highest self in this spontaneous occurrence, which happens, but it's rare. And so that's that U theory again, which we'll go into in another episode. But you could be ready for a spiritual path where you're wanting to explore different states of consciousness. You're wanting to explore the true nature of reality. You're wanting to understand the bigger picture, how this all works. You're wanting to explore how to relate to the world and other people from a higher consciousness, which would create deeper, more connected, and authentic relationships. All of these things help cultivate higher qualities of being, like empathy, compassion, courage, kindness, unconditional love, all the good stuff. So if you're wanting to optimize and become your best and highest self, transpersonal coaching is amazing for that. I don't think there's anything better, in my humble opinion. And lastly, transpersonal coaching can give you tools and a new lens through which to look at yourself and the world and the reality that you create in a way that empowers you to become any version of yourself that you want to be. So, say you simply just want to develop more confidence. You don't want to have those nagging thoughts in your mind when you're going into spaces that normally trigger you into feeling incompetent or insecure, self conscious. We can work with those thought patterns and program in who would a confident person have to be. And sometimes these feelings are stored from past traumas or intense experiences that we didn't get to fully process out of our bodies. And that's where the somatic therapy training that I've had comes in so handy, because sometimes, even though we have a baseline of mental health, we're functional, we still carry trauma and old hurt. And that's not sometimes, it's most of the times. I certainly have things come up for me, and it's like we're consciously and constantly looking at, where am I blocked, where am I blocking my power, my true ability to fully show up. And there might be things lodged in there from past experiences that are below the level of consciousness that I can help you access and look at and fully process, so it moves out of the body system and no longer triggers you in those moments, so that it gives you more of an opportunity to fully step into being that person, that version of yourself that you want to be, whether it's being confident, whether it's going and becoming a dancer or a pro athlete, or whatever it is that you're wanting to create in your life. Let's unblock every obstacle and optimize every pathway there. This is my jam. I absolutely love what I do. It is my favorite thing in the world. I love connection, I love magic, and I love inner and outer adventure. And so if you are interested in learning more or just talking with me about what's going on for you and seeing if transpersonal coaching would be a good fit for you, I'd be more than happy to connect with you. If you want to click the link in my description below of the complimentary session with me, schedule in my Calendly some time to chat. No strings attached whatsoever. I would honestly just love to get to know my viewers and subscribers. So let's create a more intimate, interconnected community here. I would love to hear from you in the comments as well. So stay tuned for everything transpersonal coaching and all the different areas of life it could help with. And I'm going to be sharing things about neuroscience, quantum theory, somatic therapy, visualization, so much good stuff. So I hope that this was informative and you have a clear idea of what transpersonal coaching is. Talk to you soon.